Yeah,
Fingers
fingers
crossed.
crossed. But the other person wants to help, but they might be making it worse by saying the wrong things.
I felt warm. That's
Ali,
that's a
I'm sending you a hug right now, okay? Feel it. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank
again.
you.
This is the second time this podcast. You're making me feel very warm. Yeah, it's like that father kind of feeling. It's very nice.
We're still equal, Ali. For example, they might come, I'm not sleeping well. Can you help me with my sleep? Yeah, hopefully. But what's causing you not sleeping well? And then
Hi, everybody. Welcome to OK Everyday, a podcast about transactional analysis, or TA, and its application. The core belief and basic philosophical position of TA is that I'm okay and you're okay. But we've all experienced times when we felt not okay, when we questioned ourselves, we questioned others in a negative and self-critical kind of way. That limits us from experiencing life to the fullest. That's why myself, Alexi, and Jason, a pro in transactional analysis, will dive into how to make us closer to being and feeling okay every day. Interested? Come join us.
Hey, Jason.
hey, Ali, welcome back.
Welcome back to episode number 2 of OK Every Day. How are you feeling today?
Okay, as I am every day, but actually really enjoying this. I really enjoyed the first episode. I'm very much looking forward to getting into what we're going to talk about today. What about you?
I'm okay, despite the I'm not I don't know if we should give it away that it's a Monday, but despite it being a Monday, I'm still okay, which is good. And today we're going to talk about something, might not sound that sexy, but it's really cool. And I think, especially because we talked about the philosophy of TA last time, and today we're going to talk about the basic principles of the TA practice. Um, where should we start, Jason?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of sexy. It will be, hopefully we'll make it sexy, but yeah, it is an important, these topics that we're going to cover early on are important as a kind of foundational
Sure.
understanding. We'll, later on in different episodes, we'll get right into it. But again, the thing with TA, certain words are chosen purposefully. So some of what we're going to cover here today in terms of the basic principles, the words kind of, I think, sound a little bit officious, like official or something. But
Okay.
the more we get into it, the more you can use it in every day. It makes
Hmm.
sense in an everyday way, in a practical sense, when you understand what's actually being said beneath the official kind of words.
Right.
So we dive into it. Do you want to go through the first one?
Yes, and the first one is contractual method.
Yeah. See what I
Is it?
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
It's
It's
there's a difference between I'm okay, you're okay, and contractual
I
method.
know, I know. And one of the things that TA prides itself on is making the language as accessible as possible, especially, in a way, kids are supposed to understand it. So if you can teach kids this,
Sure.
then you're doing TA. Contractual method is not a great phrase for kids. They wouldn't have a clue what you're talking about. Which is why I think, drilling down on it and having a chat about it, we could probably get to a more simpler meaning of it,
Okay.
right? So let's dive into it. So what's being said when the phrase contractual method is used? Now, as a psychotherapist in my training, this was very important um, in all sessions, right? All the sessions I have with clients who come to see me. Uh, and the word contractual means agreement. That's
Mm.
really what it means, right? So it's like an agreement method or a way to create an agreement between the two of you or more, but certainly, for myself, it's often between two people to figure out what are we going to do together. What's the work that we're trying to put our minds to? What's the goal we're trying to set? How do we know when it's finished? Do you know what's the end result? So contractual, although it's a very official type word, really means two people agreeing on something to work together on.
Mm.
Right? Does that make sense?
It does, and I liked how you put the contractual method, which sounds really official, into agreement between two people on something. That's that's the basis of it.
Much
I
easier,
think
right?
without going into much detail, I think it's also we I don't know how to put it. We had a contractual method going into the podcast as well. So we agreed on when we get together, how we do this, what's the length, and without going into too much detail, but there was an agreement. So basically, a contractual method was also set here for us to do this.
Absolutely. And again, it comes a little bit from the kind of I'm okay, you're okay, having the capacity to think type philosophy, which is, why are you here? What do you want to work on? And how can I help? And the closer we can get to understanding that, the more successful we probably will become. So it's called a method because, we, as a therapist, we really try and help a person understand what it is they want to change, because they may not straight away know what they want to change. So it actually
Okay.
might take a couple of sessions to kind of unpack what's really going on and where the
Right.
work really is. So they might come for one thing and then realize, no, so they might come, for example, they might come, I'm not sleeping well. Can you help me with my sleep? Yeah, hopefully. But what's causing you not sleeping well? And then through a bit of exploration, then we can find it. It might be stress, or it might
Right.
be something's on your mind around a conversation or a big presentation or something. So how do we get to that so that we can have a way forward to really get to the parts that needs to change, which will result in better sleep, more than likely. Yeah,
Fingers
fingers
crossed.
crossed. But actually, I'll throw a little bit more kind of slight jargon at you, because I just realized
Okay.
right in front of me I had, because Eric Byrne is one of the main guys behind Transactional Analysis,
Right.
and he calls a contract, which is, you think in the
Mm-hmm.
legal terms, a contract is something you sign together. You've read it and you agree to it and you sign it, and then it's legally binding. So he talks about contracts in more of a what two people can create together. It doesn't have to be on paper. So here's a bit of kind of legalese. He says a contract is an explicit bilateral commitment to a well-defined course of action. Right? So there's a lot of words in that. And funny enough, Byrne doesn't like jargon, but what is he saying? He says it's explicit, which means it's overt. It's not covert. It's not hidden. We're actually talking about it. It's bilateral, so the two of us are engaging in it. Right? It's a commitment. We're saying yes, we're going to do this together. Right? And a well-defined course of action, which is okay. Where are we heading? How are we going to get there? What are you going to do, and what am I going to do
Right.
to get us there? So again, behind all these kind of fairly chunky words are some fairly straightforward, everyday user-friendly type ideas.
Nice. And listen, this is interesting because we were talking more about the professional realm, right? So even like us getting together would be a more professional. We have a good relationship
Yep.
as people, but it also a professional relationship. Or you would say as a psychotherapist, you would also be having this contractual method with your patients, with your clients.
Yeah. And as a coach too, I do
As
the
a
same with a
coach,
coach. Yeah.
exactly. And would you say you could use this kind of contractual method in personal life? Would that be beneficial?
That's spot on, because, again, behind all these big words are actually some very plain, everyday, useful kind of habits, right?
Mm,
Which is in conversations. So if,
right.
how can I help? That's a very straightforward question towards creating a contract or an agreement. So, well, I would like you to do this. Okay. Well, I'm able to do this part of it. Is is
Mhm.
is is that enough? Would that be okay? And we find somebody else to do that part. Yes, that's fine. Boom. Now all of a sudden we have an agreement, a contract. So I'm going to do this bit. Somebody else is going to do that bit, and we both can walk away feeling okay. And also in, as something we'll talk about later on, our adult ego state. So we've
Mm.
agreed something as kind of a clear way forward.
There's a sneak peek in the future episodes as well. Um, right. That sounds so you can use it in person, like even in a personal interaction, and it's useful in kind of stating clearly what the objective of a particular communication would be, even if it's personal, not necessarily professional, right?
Yeah, getting a good understanding of it, because one of the things it does help with is reducing emotion,
Okay.
right? Because if somebody's kind of very, very emotional, they may not know actually what they want,
Ooh,
right?
okay.
So they might be putting some stuff out that really is not hitting the mark. And if the other person is getting a lot of this emotion coming to them, then it can be confusing too what their role is. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so somebody might be very upset, and the other person wants to help, but they might be making it worse by saying the wrong things. Well, you know, you should have done this, you should have done that. Here's some advice, and the other person doesn't want that. Actually, what they might want is a hug,
Mm.
right? So if I kind of slow it down and try and figure out, okay, how can I best help here? I might say, would you like a hug? Would you know? Or can I give you a hug? Would that help? And all of a
Nice.
sudden, all of that kind of conflict and tension might just dissolve, and they say, yes, please. Boom, you got a hug, and you know, things just feel an awful lot better. Right. So that's a
Jason,
little example of of a contract.
Jason, you sharing that example already made me feel warm just by sharing that example. You know, just offering. You know, not you wasn't even offered to me, but I felt warm. And
Ollie,
that's how
I'm sending you a hug right now. Okay, feel it. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank.
that's how good TA is. And it actually brings us really nicely into the next principle, which is open and equal communication.
Yeah, you know, again, um, kind of you might think a little cold. The words are a little bit cold, but actually they have deep meaning. You know, open.
True.
So it's aiming towards openness. You
Mm,
know, because when we're not open, we're more closed, right? So if I'm in a dialogue, a conversation with somebody, and I'm more open, then I'm you know easier to receive things. I'm easier to work with. I'm more open to understanding what somebody's feeling. Um,
mm,
and if I'm less open, therefore I'm more guarded and defensive, right?
mm.
And again, if you think about
Yeah.
in the personal life when you're in a bit of an argument, it's quite easy to get defensive, or even offensive. You know what I mean, like that, because you're waiting for a fight. So how do I stay more open to get
Mm,
a deeper understanding of what's going on for the person who's talking to me right now? You know,
mhm.
is that what you
Wow.
get from open? Open? Would you understand that?
Well, what I would get from open is me personally. I think when I think of open communication, I always remember myself as a child when it's like less filters, less you don't really think about what you say, but you kind of say it because you feel that, right? At the same time, it's when you're getting a little bit older, you realize that some words, while innocent to you, might be triggering for someone else. So you pick your language. You're a bit more cautious with that. But when I think about equal, the equal part is it kind of directly gets me back to I'm okay, you're okay.
Yeah,
So I'm open, I can share, I feel that I'm in a trusted space to share anything, and I trust the person would take whatever I have to say, and I will receive whatever that person has to share with me. So that's where I get from open and equal communication.
beautiful. And to me again, I think the equal part is quite profound too. Just
Mm,
acknowledging it because for me as well, Ali. It is all about the I'm okay, you're okay because it's reminding me that everybody's equal.
hmm
there's no there's no superior human to another human, right? So therefore, we're all on the same level. So therefore, when I'm talking in an equal way, I'm treating the other person as equal to me, and vice versa. You know,
mm.
we can slip into this kind of, oh, they know more than me type uh, feeling, or they make more money than me, or they're more successful than me, and then all of a sudden we move into not okay position and unequal. So open and equal means no, I'm open to what's going on, and equal because we're both humans. And of course,
Right.
the communication part of that is just communicating, being more aware of your communications.
And I'm again assuming that this is not only applicable into professional life, whatever the sphere may be. So maybe work, it may be coaching, it may be therapy or whatnot. It's also very useful in any intrapersonal relationships that you have with other people.
Oh, absolutely, and even parenting. Do you know what I mean?
Ooh, that's a
It's just,
big one.
I know, isn't it? That's such a, like, what's it like to imagine being open and equal at times with your children, which means seeing them as humans with the capacity to think, and and give some good ideas, right? So, um, if I'm as a father, if I'm talking to my kids, I use this a lot. not all the time, because again, there are different experience levels, obviously, but if I'm treating them as equal in terms of being able to think through something, how does this make you feel? What do you think? Did you like that? So if I'm open and equal, then whatever they say, I can just accept. Or what about what I said there that kind of upset you, that you didn't like? And then if they tell me, then I go, oh, okay, I didn't see that, but thank you for letting me know.
Again, this is the second time this podcast. You're making me feel very warm. Yeah, it's like that father kind of feeling. It's very nice.
We're still equal, Ollie. Don't forget it.
Equal. Yep. And I mean, also what you mentioned with the last example, when you would ask your children, and again, I guess it was more hypothetical, but we've all had these experiences with children if you are a parent. So where you would ask them, okay, what did I say? What was wrong? Or what didn't land with you well, and they would return it back to you. And it kind of takes us into the next basic principle, is taking personal responsibility.
Oh,
Does
lovely,
that
yeah.
does that connect well? Or
That's a brilliant segue. Actually,
okay.
I hadn't.
Well, you did that.
I know, I hadn't. You put that together but you're totally right. It's me as a dad taking responsibility for my own behavior and my own style of communication.
Right.
Because um, we're all human, so none of us are perfect, right? So everybody will make mistakes or say things not quite as they wish they'd said it, or in the heat of the moment might say it a bit too intense, and I do that too. So the practical side of taking responsibility is being open to realizing, actually, I could have done that better, and with hindsight or with reflection, I can work on that. One of the things, and I'm sure in our podcast we'll share a little bit of ourselves and disclosure about our lives, but one of the things that I got much better at than my father was apologizing. I realized, actually, it's okay to apologize if you've said something that you wished you hadn't said in that way.
Right.
Because we're not perfect. Sometimes things come out, and I might say, be a bit stressed and say things in a bit more of an urgent type manner. And if I'm living these principles, and one of my kids feeds back to me, that, Dad, you're being a bit you're rushing us, or you're being a bit kind of intense. I go, oh, okay, thanks. Okay, yeah, I think you're right. I am, yeah, and there's no need to, have that stress. So I can then reflect on my own behaviors from a taking personal responsibility side. What about yourself?
Wow.
Can you reflect on that?
Oh, I'd love to reflect on that. I think, and this again might be slightly biased because of the culture that I was raised from. So it's post-Soviet, there was, and I think a lot of it was around taking responsibility, not only for yourself, but for pretty much anything that's possible to take responsibility of. So there's a lot of taking responsibility on everything. And sometimes the question might be of what that personal responsibility is, not responsibility, but what the personal part of it is. So what's my responsibility as a parent, as a husband, as a friend, as a colleague, versus just, oh, I'm responsible for everything, and hence I should be doing everything. Which that was one of the things that was difficult at first to understand, because to understanding where that personal part of the responsibility is versus just responsibility for everything. Because everything happening outside in my paradigm of the world, that's my responsibility. So I have to tackle it somehow, but it's not.
No, and that's, again, I hadn't reflected upon it on that level. So that's brilliant, because you're spot on. Like, what's my personal responsibility and what's not my personal responsibility? So where do I stop? And I think that's so important when it comes to, if you imagine equal communication. So there's if you imagine in a relationship, if you think about personal relationship, there's two of you in it. So you're never 100% responsible, right? So you're only 50% of the relationship. right? But you're 100% responsible for your 50%. If that makes sense, but not the other person's. And this is where we can slip into actually taking on things that don't belong to us. So reflecting on what you just said is spot on. Bringing in those healthy boundaries. That yes, okay, yes, I did do that, and I did say that, and I can work on that. But there was more that happened that went on that wasn't me.
Yeah. I love the phrase, you're 100% responsible for the 50% of what you're responsible for.
Yeah.
That's not exactly what you said, but I really love that phrase.
But you can see how with a few, you would think, kind of clunky basic principles because of the language, when you bring it to life, it's very insightful and I think very user-friendly, certainly professionally, but definitely I think, personally, within relationships, within communication, within parenthood, that this TA stuff actually does make a difference if we know what it's saying and can apply it to ourselves, like you just did, Ollie, there, in terms of the personal bit and where you were brought up, and where's the stop, where's the boundary,
right?
Because if we take on too much, that's a lot of work, right?
Yeah. We went deep very quickly. Let's put it that way. But we do want to keep these episodes short and snackable, so that people could enjoy watching them and not have to invest a ton of time. So I'd like to sum up what we talked about. And today we covered a very important topic, a foundation of TA, which is the basic principles of transactional analysis practice. The first one is the contractual method, or in layman terms, two people agree on how they want to move forward. It's an open and equal communication, and it's taking personal responsibility and understanding when not to take that personal responsibility. So would that be a good summary of what we talked about today, Jason?
I think that is spot on. And the more you apply this, the more you'll be okay
every day.
Every day.
Thanks everyone for your attention. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we can continue bringing you awesome content about transactional analysis. See you later.